Puffs here from Saigon here, District 7, or what used to be called District 7. And I'm starting to wonder about the wisdom of doing a live stream at this time of day, because when I decided to do one today, the weather was kind of overcast and a little bit rainy and a bit cooler. But in the last hour or so, it's just come out in brilliant sunshine, and I'm sweating my ass off already. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I've got my little mic set up here, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Just give me a thumbs up, or just let me know somehow in the chat. I can't really see the chat at the moment. But yeah, let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm sure you'll probably turn off if you can't hear me. Hopefully you can see me as well. I've had to find a little spot in the shade here because it's just come out so hot, as you can see, and I was hoping that I could give you a little bit of a view as well, but it hasn't really turned out that way, has it? Anyway, not to worry. Shit happens, doesn't it? So yeah, thanks for joining me. I know that most of you watching will watch this probably after the live has wrapped up. That's what usually happens with my lives. I usually get quite a few more people who watch, and I'll try to make sure that I put up the chapters afterwards, probably tomorrow. That'll give me a little job tomorrow. Okay, sounds good. G'day Jeff, how you going? Look, sorry guys if I don't get back to you quickly in the chat because it's a little bit hard for me to see things, to see the chat. So it's good to see there's a few people joining in. I'll get to you guys in a minute. And also feel free to drop any questions or comments that you've got about Vietnam, or maybe my videos, or maybe video ideas. It's always good to get video ideas from people. Obviously, it's good to be able to create content for the people who actually watch you. So I'm keen to hear any suggestions that you've got. What's been happening with me? Well, I haven't done a lot of sort of long form videos lately. I think I did a few videos. I think I did 3 videos for our trip to Gunter in the Mekong Delta. So I think I spent the week after that short trip doing, putting those videos together. And then probably, as you know, it's a fair bit of work to put those videos together. So I get absolutely sick of looking at myself and listening to myself. So whenever I do those sorts of videos, it's just like, oh God, get me out of here. And the last thing I want to do is do a video, but I'm pretty keen to get back into it this week. Actually, last week I spent nearly 2 days, probably really 1 day in total, but it was over 2 days. And I did just a little bit, got on the motorbike and did a little bit of scouting around Saigon for sort of video ideas that are a little bit different. It went okay. The thing I was looking for was sort of, I know it's a bit cliched, but banh mi that's not covered by everybody else. There's a lot of love out there for the same banh mi places all around the city, and food and banh mi tends to go pretty well on YouTube for whatever reason. I don't know. So yeah, the upside of that was, well, the downside was I didn't really find anything that's probably worth documenting in a video. But the upside was that it took me over to sort of the northern side of the city, which is an area where I don't usually go to too much. So a little bit of breeze here. Just make sure I don't lose there's a big drop off behind you guys there, behind the camera, so I don't want to lose all my stuffs. Yeah, so it got me over on the north side of Ho Chi Minh City. So I live on the south side, which is really the gateway to the Mekong Delta. So any of you that have been to the Mekong Delta, you've probably, well, there's a good chance you've kind of whizzed past my apartment block, or at least the district that I live in. So yeah, it got me out at least over to the other side of town, closer to the airport, closer to Tan Son Nhat Airport, Ho Chi Minh City Airport, basically. And took me to Phu Nhong and Go Vap. And I tell you what, different world over there, very different world. So came across a lot of, sorry, when I say a lot, a number of markets that I'd never been to before, and they were super interesting. Very similar to the usual markets that you'll find, but they were markets that was sort of a mix between, you know, your traditional large markets that are like a big shed that you'd be familiar with, combined with sort of markets in the small alleyways and streets in the residential areas. So essentially sort of spilling out into the alleyways and sort of streets. From memory, one of the good ones was Ja Phu Nhon, which is the market in Phu Nhon, which was interesting, and a couple of other ones. I think it was called Zhan Hu Jiang, and I'll go back to that. So it's sort of given me a bit of an idea to perhaps do a video on perhaps markets that are not Bentan Market or not, what's it called, Bintay Market in District 5, you know. So trying to show and encourage travellers to Saigon that there are some really great markets out there that they miss just because, for whatever reason, perhaps, you know, Bentan Market is the central market. People go to that market, they get marketed out, if that's a word, and they're like, okay, screw it, we've done the markets, you know. But there are tons of other markets out there that are really worth checking out. And the upside is great food. So a lot of, obviously, fresh food, fresh produce goes to those markets. And then, of course, you know, little vendors and shops and stuff around the vicinity of those markets, you can find excellent food. And I found a really good one the other day. It was a Nha Trang style. So Nha Trang is about 300 or 400 kilometres north, I guess northeast of Saigon, on the beach. Anyone who's familiar with Vietnam, you'll know Nha Trang. And they sort of have their own style of banh xeo. Now, banh xeo is like the big, I guess, for want of a better description, sort of like a pizza, would it be? It's almost like a dosa. I think I wrote in one of my Patreon posts a few weeks ago that I was talking a little bit about banh xeo because we were down in the Mekong Delta, and the Mekong, it's not really the home of banh xeo, I don't think, but it's an area that's kind of become synonymous with banh xeo, and it's kind of it's a rice and sort of coconut milk, rice flour, sorry, I always screw this up. Sort of a rice flour mix, maybe with a little bit of coconut in it, turmeric to make it yellow, and it's mixed into a very thin, you probably wouldn't call it a batter, but it's like a sort of a pancake mix, and then poured into a wok, and then they've got prawns, beans, sprouts, what else? Bits of pork, almost like bacon in them as well, and then sometimes just sort of, well, usually folded over like that, and then wrapped up in lettuce leaves and herbs and all that sort of stuff like that. So Nha Trang has its own version of it, and really it's a mini one, so it's probably, you know, about that big. And I came across one of those when I was sort of going around the other day. So I'm sort of thinking, you know, video titles in terms of sort of markets you've never heard of in Saigon and the great food around them and stuff like that. And also keeping in mind that it's difficult for tourists sometimes to get into the areas that I can get into because I have a motorbike license. And a motorbike, I'm pretty free to go anywhere in the city. So I'm not just trying to choose out of the way places. I'm also trying to choose places that are fairly easily accessible for travellers who are here for just a short time, because, you know, the last thing I want to do is send you guys out to a place that's almost impossible to get to and just as difficult to get back. So that's sort of what I got up to the last couple of days of the week, which was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it. And as you know, I'm always trying to improve my Vietnamese. So it's good to go to places, where, they don't get to see many foreigners, to be honest, because they're quite, not inaccessible, but they're just sort of out of the way places that are not on the tourist beat. So it's good to be able to talk to those people and to, it's sort of apart from being humbling, it's also a really good way of gauging how you're going with your Vietnamese as well, because if you're speaking to local people who have never probably spoken to a foreigner before and they're responding back to you, it's a very good indication that you're being understood. So I had plenty of those moments and plenty of other moments where people didn't understand me. Let me have a look at the chat. Let me see if I can find you. Sorry for putting my finger up here because I've just got to press the chat button. Hey Mike, what up Matt? Yeah, good mate. I'm good. I'm very good. Yesterday, Mike, you may know that it was the AFL Grand Final, Australian Football League Grand Final. So I spent the day at a local pub watching the game, and unfortunately my team didn't win. So that was a bit of a bummer, but you know what? They got beaten by a better team on the day, but it was a fun day. It was an enjoyable day. So Saigon's got a new sports bar. So we didn't go to that one yesterday, but there are a number of places around Saigon if you're into your sports and stuff like that. There's places to go to watch all your football and all that sort of stuff as well. Who else is here? Hey Vu, Xin Chao everyone. Good to see you, Vu. Long time no see. You must be coming up to your trip here. So I hope that goes well. From memory, I thought it was October. I don't know if that's right, but as you can see, the weather's pretty good. The weather's pretty good at the moment, breezy. We've had a bit of a change in season, I think, in the last week or so. It feels like the winds really come up. So I think autumn is really on the way, even though we've still had steady sort of rain, but that's typical. That's typical for this time of year. Around AFL Grand Final weekend, we usually get a rainy Grand Final day, and that's what happened yesterday. And this morning it's come out beautiful, but we'll probably get some more rain a little bit later on in the day. But this month, what are we? End of September. So today's the 28th, right? So we've had, according to my rain gauge, I'm still checking my rain gauge most days, every day. It should be every day, but some days I miss. We've had, I've got it written down here. This month we've had 13 days with rain in it. So when I talk about rainy days here, it's kind of days like this where this morning we actually woke up to rain and then it comes out like this. So I see a lot of questions online in Facebook travel groups and stuff like that. Like, you know, people who have never been to Vietnam before, they ask about the weather and they say, you know, I've heard it's rainy season in Ho Chi Minh City. Is it going to ruin my trip? Well, this is sort of what it's like. So you might get stuck in a cafe, or you might get stuck in a restaurant or something, and which is not a bad thing, is it? And you'll just have to wait out the rain for however long it falls, you know. Most days it falls for, you know, it might fall for half an hour or something like that. You know, other days are a bit rainy all day, which was yesterday. But we only had like 20 mils of rain yesterday or something anyway. So it still doesn't ruin your day. But we've had, this month, we've had over 500 millimetres of rain. So I think I did a quick search on ChatGPT and they say that an average amount of rain in September for Ho Chi Minh City is about 250 mil. So according to ChatGPT, I don't know how accurate it is. And I don't know how accurate all these measurements are, to be honest, as well, the reported rainfall. But according to my calculations, yeah, we've had over 500 millimetres caught here in District 7 and usually about 250 mil in Ho Chi Minh City for the month of September. So we've had a fair bit. We've had a few days where we've had, you know, like 100 mil in a sudden downfall. And then one day I think it actually filled up my rain gauge, which is 150 millimetres. So we had at least 150 millimetres, I don't know, in a few hours or something like that. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how much rain actually falls when it really wants to fall. But it doesn't ruin anything much, as you can see, you know. Yeah, we will, by the feel of it, we'll get a little bit of rain later on, but, you know, it won't ruin our day. Let me have a look at the chat. Okay, let me just go back. Oh, Melanie, go the Cats. Well, yeah, the Cats next year. TJ, hi Matt, didn't realise you support the Cats. I do too. Okay, cool, TJ. Yeah, I grew up in northern Victoria, and when I was growing up, it was still the VFL at that point. I don't know how familiar you're with it all, TJ, and how old you are, but the AFL used to be the VFL. Sort of grew out of the VFL, the Victorian Football League, and each sort of region in the state was a zone for each club. And the northern Victorian zone, so up along the Murray where I'm from, it was a Geelong zone. So a lot of the old Geelong stars from sort of yesteryear, they were from up where I came from. Unfortunately, I wasn't good enough to make it. But yeah, I've been a Cats fan for quite a while. I'm a little bit of a turncoat. I was actually a Footscray fan until I went to primary school, and then we used to get all the Geelong players, the Geelong Cats players come to school, you know, and so you'd get influenced by that. And there are a lot of Geelong supporters around me. You know, a lot of my friends are Geelong supporters, and family as well. I've got family who live in Geelong, but we've had a good run. What else have we got? We've got Vu. Oh, your trip's been postponed till next year. Okay, no worries. Well, Vietnam will still be here. I'm assuming I'm still going to be here as well, so all good about that. Vu, my birthday was last Friday. Okay, cool. Happy birthday, mate. What? 50 yet, Vu? 45, is it? Let us know. Let us know how old you are. TJ, remember the VFL? Yeah, that's right. Yep. So, yeah, that's how I came to be a Geelong fan. And my father and eldest brother, they're still Western Bulldogs fans, of course, but they were Footscray back then, back in the day. All right, cool. I've written down a few little topics to chat about today. The Win Tai Bin area in Ho Chi Minh City. The Win Tai Bin area is pretty much the oldest neighbourhood in Saigon. Pretty much. I think it's fair to say, if there's anyone who's Vietnamese watching and lives here, feel free to correct me on that, but it's one of the oldest neighbourhoods, and it's right near, if you're familiar with Saigon, it's right near the Batexco Tower. The old US Embassy building is technically in the Vinh Khanh area, and it runs along the Banh Canal. So that canal will, well, depending on the tide, it runs into the Saigon River, or the Saigon River runs into it, depending on the tide, I suppose. And it runs around that sort of area along the river, the canal bank there, and sort of up to almost Bentan Market. It's not, Bentan Market is in Bentan Ward, and the Vinh Khanh Ward is just next to it. So what's in there? The old Antique Street is in there. Not that I've been down there much lately, but back in the day, I used to go down there and fossick a little bit. You know, you'd find interesting old photos in there, boxes of photos, coins, some old relics, but I believe a lot of the old sort of antiques and stuff like that are pretty fake. But, you know, a long time ago, that street was known to be the place to go for antiques and stuff like that. You know, sort of things that sort of got found from shipwrecks and all that sort of stuff. But I think all that stuff's kind of gone now. The Arts Museum of Fine Arts is there in the Vinh Khanh neighbourhood. Yeah, so Time Out magazine has named it the coolest neighbourhood. Of course, Mal and I have been onto that neighbourhood for years, for over a decade. We've always said it's been a very interesting neighbourhood. It's got that mix of Chinese history, so you'll hear people still speaking Cantonese in that neighbourhood, because that was really one of the first neighbourhoods where the Cantonese, I think that's right, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but right in that neighbourhood there was the sort of, really, essentially the first Chinatown back in the day. You know, we're talking, how long ago? French colonial era anyway. So, you know, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago. And, you know, a lot of the boats and stuff, you know, produce boats and stuff like that would pull up along the canal banks there. A lot of that land has been reclaimed now though, so I believe in Vinh Khanh neighbourhood, I'll call it the neighbourhood, there's a mosque, and I've been told that pretty much the banks of the canal came almost right up to where that mosque is these days, and it must be at least 150 metres or 200 metres or something from the present day canal. So there's been a lot of changes. The state bank is there. There's a lot of great food. You'll still hear the locals speaking Cantonese. Not that I speak Cantonese, but you'll see a lot of shops there with Chinese writing on them. And at night time, some nice restaurants and bars and stuff like that. So it's really coming up as an area. Yersin Market is there. I went into Yersin Market recently, but there's been a little bit of a clamp down on you know, sort of fake goods and stuff like that. So about a month ago I went in there, and at Vu, it's where we got your grab jacket. The ladies in there weren't keen at all for me to film. So there was quite a, I don't know how to say this, not a very welcoming vibe in the old Yersin Market. So I've got a bit of a feeling that its days might be numbered as a market for all your sort of old fake army, you know, war, what do you call it? Relics and all that sort of stuff, fake grab jackets, that sort of thing. It's still a very popular market for construction tools and, you know, bits and pieces that you need for building a kitchen or a or a bathroom or a house or whatever, you know, all that sort of stuff's still there and still very popular. But in terms of that sort of, when you go right inside that market where you see all those amazing displays of fake goods and stuff like that and war era knickknacks and all that, yeah, the lights were off. A lot of little shops had closed, they were shuttered. And it wasn't really a very good vibe, unfortunately, because it's a really, really interesting market. And of course, it's also a good place to get bags made and stuff like that. They still do that sort of stuff on the corner there, out on the street. But yeah, the article in Time Out, it didn't really go into too much depth about the neighbourhood. I've done a video or two on that neighbourhood. It's got a little bit of modern history, it's got a little bit of old history, it's got a little bit of, you know, sort of, you can go in and check out what the art scene's like to a certain extent in the art, what is it, the Museum of Fine Art. And the food's excellent, of course. So yeah, that's really good that they're putting that on the radar. It's still not very walkable though in that sense, you know, like this is the thing about these articles that I find, you know, they say that they're the coolest places to go and visit, but they're still really, you've still got to have your wits about you when you walk around these places because there's motorbikes coming from all different directions and there's potholes. I did my ankle there once. You've just got to keep a constant eye out. So it's not that friendly on foot, to be honest, but it's the only way to see it. All right, let me just go to the chat. Wow, TJ and Vu, same birth date. Wow, amazing. TJ's just a little bit older than Vu though. Vu, I'm Asian, so I guess I don't age much. Yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah. Vu, isn't it Mid-Autumn Festival there in Vietnam? Yeah, it is. It is. And, mooncakes. So usually this time of year you'll get those mooncake stalls, but probably over the past decade, I reckon, that kind of tradition in Ho Chi Minh City at least is sort of on the decline. And I guess a big part of that is that you can buy everything online now. You know, people can buy mooncakes online and get them delivered to their door sort of thing. So I think that has really impacted on things. The other thing is mooncakes tend to be fairly expensive. And often they get done up in those sort of elaborate boxes and stuff like that, especially if you buy from five-star hotels and other places like that. And, you know, I don't think the economy is going that well or well enough for people to splurge on things like expensive mooncake gifts. I mentioned earlier that I was riding around the Phu Nhong neighbourhood the other day, and I was talking to the lady who was making the Nha Trang banh xeo, and I asked her how many she made per day. So they're about that big. I don't know if you can see. Sorry, it's getting a bit dark. We might get rained on in a minute. They're about that big. So I asked her how many she sold in a day, and she said she sells these days anywhere from 200 to 400 a day at 13,000 dong each. But she said before COVID she was selling double that. She said that the people the local people in those neighbourhoods and in those alleyways, they just haven't got that money to spend on things. Even though Nha Trang banh xeo Nha Trang is quite cheap, it all adds up, and so people are cutting back on spending on those sorts of things. So I suspect that's had quite an impact on the sale of mooncakes. which I don't really like anyway. I'm not that into them anyway, so it doesn't really worry me too much. But it's an interesting little change in tradition. Things are creeping into Vietnamese culture that are kind of changing, and a lot of it due to technology, I guess. I could be talking crap, but Melanie, breaking news. Yeah, I don't know about it. Yersin Market RIP. It could look at. It's starting to look run down, but I think that's quite common for a lot of markets. I was at, what was one of the other markets that I was at? I was at Tan Binh Market, which is near the airport, on, I think it was Thursday. I was there on Thursday, and it's a really impressive market, and I can imagine how important that market used to be. Probably still is very important. They have a lot of wholesale fabric shops. Lots of, one of the kids there said that they get a lot of tailors who have shops and seamstresses and stuff like that who go there to buy their fabrics wholesale and then obviously make them in their shop or whatever and sell them there. But again, the vibe, it was lively. It might have been the time of day that I was there. It was sort of mid-morning, but everybody was on their phone. Everybody. They had their eyes glued to their mobile phones. And so there was little conversation going on. I didn't make a lot of eye contact with people simply because they were curious about me in the food court. They were like, what's this guy doing here? But outside of that, most people were looking at their phones. And so that was a little bit of a downer. But I would go back there. I'll probably go back there and check out the food court that they have there and perhaps do a video. They were very keen to sell me something. Very keen. There weren't too many customers getting around at that time of day. So it may not just be Yersin Market, it may be a lot of the old traditional markets around Saigon at least that are starting to lose, what would you call it? Wind's come up a little bit. Starting to lose their relevance, I suppose, because online shopping these days is huge here, and so people don't need to go to the markets as much, which is a shame. It's a shame. And the building's amazing. Keep it in mind, anyone who's going to come to Saigon who watches this in the next 6 months or so, write it down. Tan Binh Market, Tanbinh. It's near the airport. It's quite an interesting market to check out. Mel, there used to be a lot of B&B there. Yeah, Mel's talking about Win Tai Binh. There used to be quite a few. I think there still are, which reminds me, I think most of you guys will have seen my short video on the hotel scams going on. I had a friend, if you haven't seen that video, go and check it out later. It'll be in the shorts video section. But just to give you a brief summary about it, an old friend of mine from Australia, he and his wife and kids, his young family, 3 young kids, the eldest being 11, 9 and 6, I think. They arrived at their hotel nearly a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was, and it didn't exist. And they'd booked all of their accommodation and sort of activities in Vietnam through a very well-known Australian travel agency, and it turns out that that agency is being scammed, which in turn means that their clients are sort of being scammed as well, indirectly, in a way. So they had no accommodation. They'd flown all day. They'd spent all day travelling from Australia, from Melbourne. Landed here about 4:30 in the afternoon. Got stuck in peak hour traffic, of course. Probably wasn't until about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night that they arrived at their so-called accommodation, and only to find that it didn't exist. I don't really know how that's happening, but I go into it a little bit in a recent short video I did, so go and check that out. But just a reminder to anyone watching this now or after the fact, Airbnb is banned in Ho Chi Minh City at the moment. And also keep in mind, I mentioned it in that video, Ho Chi Minh City's borders have expanded now. So it includes places like Vung Tau, which is about 90 kilometres away. So keep that in mind as well. It's on the coast. That I know that there are plenty of Airbnb places there in Vung Tau, but look, technically it still falls under Ho Chi Minh City, and there's a ban on Airbnb in Ho Chi Minh City. So yeah, be careful when booking those things or paying in advance or whatever. In my friend's case, they just weren't to know. They booked everything through a very, very well-known Australian travel agency, and they just, you know, they put their trust in that company, and turns out it was a scam, unfortunately. I don't want to say who the company is, but you know, because I'm worried about defamation laws and stuff like that. But I mean, you can direct message me if you like, and I'll tell you. But I think the main point of it is that just always check, make a phone call in advance and see if your hotel actually exists. Live chat, let me just check the chat. Is Bees still coming to Vietnam? I don't know, I haven't heard from Bees for a while. An Ha, where are you now? I'm in Ho Chi Minh City, I'm in District 7. And yeah, the weather's quite nice, quite warm, quite humid. I think we're going to get a little bit more rain pretty soon. Not that we need any. Yeah, so keep in mind that I keep a close eye on social media and travel groups out of Australia, and accommodation stuff comes up all the time, and I actually place that video in that group to warn people, but I don't really know how many people have actually watched it. In terms of weather, going back to weather, typhoons, we've had a few typhoons cross over into Vietnam lately. They've all been up in the northern part of Vietnam, and probably to a lesser extent the central part. So Da Nang around this time of year, September, October, perhaps November, is quite susceptible to typhoons as they come across the East Sea, or as you may know it, the South China Sea, from the Philippines. Philippines is only 2 hours by air from Vietnam, and Manila and Da Nang are on pretty much the same latitude, I think. So, you know, the storms pick up in the East Sea or the South China Sea and then blow across to Da Nang. I'm not sure whether they're getting any storms at the moment, although my friend said a couple of days ago it was beautiful in Da Nang and Hoi An. They haven't copped anything yet. They're up in Hanoi at the moment as I speak, and they said they had a lot of rain yesterday, but this morning was nice and sunny like this. So fingers crossed, those typhoons have sort of, you know, once they hit land, they kind of peter out a little bit. So I think Hanoi's kind of been spared for the moment, I think. So I was a bit worried about them. They had arrived in Vietnam just as the typhoon season was kicking off, and they've managed to miss it by the looks of things. So that's good. live chat. I'm just going to check the chat again. TJ, true. Always check your hotel exists when booking accommodation in Vietnam. Yes, seen that clip you did regarding scams that even impact travel agents in Australia. Yeah, thanks, TJ. Yeah, it's a big concern, really, isn't it? Like that these travel agencies don't seem to vet their accommodation that they recommend properly. Hard to believe. I was a little bit surprised though, I've got to say, when my friend said that they'd booked this place, I knew where the place was, and really I knew there was no hotel there. So at that point I assumed then, and they were thinking they were going into a hotel. So I assumed then that they'd booked just through Airbnb, and so I just left it, because I think the last thing you want just days out from your trip is for someone to say you shouldn't have done this, you should have done that, and so on. And unfortunately, it turned out the way it did. But anyway, they found some accommodation. I think they're going to take it up with the travel agency when they will, or they already have taken it up with the agency in Australia. So I'll be very interested to see how that works out. Yeah, so I don't know how these companies vet their accommodation, how they check on these things. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, one of the things people can do is get in touch with me. To be honest, they could get in touch with me and say, hey, does this place actually exist? And I could probably tell you pretty quickly. Boo, what's for lunch today, Matt? No idea. No idea what's for lunch. I'm standing right on top of the local supermarket. So this is part of the walkway in our apartment complex, and right here, this floor here that you can see is a supermarket, but nearby there's already shops cooking food, so I'm getting the smell of these shops cooking away. But I'm not sure. I'll have to, I think Mel's in the chat, so Mel, you might have to ask Mel what we're going to have. The other thing I was going to chat about, was my friend who came here and unfortunately got caught up in that scam, the hotel scam, the accommodation scam. He also asked me about eSIMs. So I recommended to him, even though I hadn't used it, Airalo, AIRALO. And he tells me it's really good, so I can recommend that. He's really liked it, and if you go onto their website, there's different packages you can get, and you can purchase that before you leave your country, and then it's activated. I think you activate it or something when you land in whatever country. I think you probably press there's a drop down with countries. I don't really know, but I'd heard Airalo was quite good, and he's confirmed that it's been great for them. So no dicking around at the airport trying to work out what SIM you need and all that sort of stuff, especially if you arrive late at night and you've been travelling all day. It's quite good to know that you've got your eSIM sorted out. The other one was that he had difficulty with was the Grab cars and stuff like that. They got a little bit overwhelmed by all the sort of scammy taxi drivers and taxi companies that rush you when you come out those gates at the airport. But I'd messaged him in advance and told him, you know, to how best to avoid that and where to find the Grab taxi rank, and so that worked pretty well. Mel, what's for lunch? TJ, book your first 2-night accommodation in Vietnam, then get the locals to help you with further bookings in Vietnam. Matt would be a local. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. It might have to be. It might be a business for me to sort of get into, being someone who can, sort of check out your accommodation in advance for you in Ho Chi Minh City, and yeah, that. We might have stumbled upon something there, TJ, It could be something that I could do. You could get in contact with me and then I could go and check the place out and see if it actually exists, Yeah. Mel, sometimes the locals, like even the hotel staff we engage with in Kanta, don't have any clue. Yeah, that's a good point too. That is another good point, and that's something I've said for a while. And the thing that I notice with Australian travellers on Facebook, in the Facebook groups, is that they often say, I want a local. I want a Vietnamese person to do this and the other, and that's very understandable, especially when it comes to language. So if you want someone who's bilingual to help you with, a day tour or something like that. But quite often what we've found is, and it happened in Gunta as well down in the Mekong, that the locals didn't really, even though they worked in an international hotel, I guess you could call it, they weren't really on top of the best places to eat, or the places that they would probably eat at. I think the feeling is that they see you as a foreigner and then they automatically go, okay, they probably won't like what we usually eat, which is a shame, because that's typically what most people want when they go overseas. They want to eat what the locals eat. So send us to that place that you go to every day or 3 times a week or something like that. What we found was that we got recommended to go to this Banh place by a number of people in that hotel. We went and it just turned, it bombed out, it failed. It was no good. It was really no good at all. I would not recommend that place one bit. And then when we went back to the hotel and we started telling a few people and saying, hey, this doesn't cut it. This place that you guys have recommended, it's no good. Trust us. It's if you've had Banh Seo in Saigon, it's at places like 46A, which is very touristy. It's near the Tan Dinh Church, the pink church. It's very touristy and it's a bit pricey, let's face it. It's got those touristy prices and it's a Michelin and stuff like that, Michelin selected or whatever it is. It's still really good and still really tasty, So this one in Gunta that's supposed to be the number one, I think if you search Google and search best Banh Seo in Gunta, this place will pop up. Don't recommend it. Again, I don't want to say the name of it because I don't want to get into trouble, and I don't want to give them any bad luck or anything like that. But again, if you want to know, if you happen to be going to Gunta, you can hit me up and I'll tell you which one it is. Vu, man, I want bun cop. Okay, yeah, well, there's plenty of that around. Plenty of bun cop around, yeah. TJ, most hotels in Vietnam will have drivers who pick you up from the airport. Yeah. I think though that TJ, they probably tend to be quite a bit more expensive than say a Grab taxi, right? So, as you full well know, people are looking for People are looking to save money. People are looking, there's something about doing something cheaper than, you know, finding something cheaper that does exactly the same thing, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess I could find that if that was part of my business model as well, you know, it could be just vetting, making sure that these particular hotels or whatever actually do offer those services. You know, sometimes you might get stuck in a situation where a fairly cheapish hotel says they have an airport pickup and it happens to be uncle who has a car, you know, or something like that, you know, yeah. Jeff, hang on, sorry Jeff, I'll get to you in a sec. Mel, and what about the staff telling us to go to that amusement park when we said we didn't want anything like it? Yeah, so, you know, a big part of going down to Gunter, apart from getting away, was to just go and check out the city and just do sort of local stuff and get away from the touristy things, you know, because we had the motorbike, we'd ridden the motorbike down there, and we said to one of the young guys at our hotel, we said, hey, we want to get in amongst the alleyways and streets and local neighbourhoods of Gunter where locals don't go to. Sorry, not local, tourists don't go. So please don't send us anywhere that's overly touristy or touristy at all. We just want to explore the city and just chat to local people and stuff like that. Anyway, he came up with a bit of a destination for us to go, about, I don't know, 5 kilometres out of town, maybe more, maybe 10 kilometres out of town, I don't know. Turned out to be on a fairly major road with these massive sort of, I don't know if you call them amusement parks, but these big parks, I don't know how to explain them. Anyone who's been to Vietnam will know what I mean, where they bus loads of local tourists on a public holiday, you know, and they can do fishing or they can ride on, I don't know, little amusement rides and stuff like that and eat your sort of standard touristy kind of food, like, you know, jaya and what else? The salads, the goy salad, you know, with green papaya and mango and stuff like that, you know, those sort of that wedding party food that you always get, you know, with the prawn crackers and stuff like that. So he sent us there, as, you know, after we'd told him we didn't want to go to places like that. So I think it's just locked in. And they knew that we live here. You know, we said, look, we live here, we've ridden a motorbike here, we don't want to do the touristy things in Gunter. But just, I think the mindset was, they're foreign, they'll like this, they're a tourist, send them there. You know, so I think you could just, the service at the place in that regard that we, you know, the hotel that we stayed at could just lift a little bit better if they sort of listened to you, you know, and came up with, you know, non-touristy kind of things that we wanted to do. Anyway, they were lovely. I mean, I'm picking on them now, but it was a lovely place to stay. I'd stay there again. Okay, where are we? Jeff, 100% agree. Anyone that has made the effort to travel to Vietnam has to try the local food. Yeah, for sure, 100%. Jeff, you were just here, right? So are there any, I mean, obviously you would have eaten all the things that you really like, but are there any dishes that kind of surprised you this time round and that you would recommend to anyone listening, or to recommend for me to try as well? I don't know all of the food here, but you know, obviously I know most of it, but yeah, let us know if there's something that kind of surprised you and you'd never you either hadn't been brave enough to try before or you just came across it for the first time. Let us know, I'd be really interested. Sorry, I'm just scrolling. When I'm doing this, I'm scrolling through the chat. TJ, yeah, that's part of when eating out in Vietnam. It's either hit or miss. Yeah, it's either hit or miss. Yeah, you're right, 100%. Most of the time I would either walk in or randomly pick street vendors when grabbing meals in Vietnam. TJ, let us know what sort of things you look for. So, you know, if let's say you're a random tourist walking down this random street somewhere in Ho Chi Minh City or wherever, anywhere in Vietnam, what are you looking out for when you decide, to help you decide on where you're going to eat? Let us know. I think that's a really useful tip because, you know, there are some obvious things that people always do in videos. They go, oh, don't eat anywhere where there's nobody. Well, that's okay, but you know, in Vietnam, you might be just at the wrong time of the day for everybody to be eating. You know, there are very sort of set times when places are busy. They're not busy throughout the entire morning. You know, a pho place will be busy from 6 a.m. till maybe 8 a.m. and then slow down a little bit and then maybe pick up again around about 11:30 when lunch sort of kicks off, you know. So that's not necessarily a great indicator. It probably is when it's at peak time, when it's dinner time and there's nobody eating there. But let us know the other things that you sort of look out for. What sort of keen eyes look out for. TJ, yes, they are, but not much more expensive than Grab. Oh, TJ's talking about the hotel pickup services. So that's a good tip. Thanks, TJ. So, you know, those hotel pickups that some hotels organise, they're not actually, according to him, that much more expensive than Grab. So, yeah, that's always something, I suppose, that you can ask for when you do your booking for your hotel. G'day, Rob. Hey, Matt. Good to see you on a live again. Yeah, good to see you here as well. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's been a little while. I did a short live the other day when I was around the market. I was just sort of playing around with a few things and I ended up deleting it. But yeah, I hadn't done one for a little while because we went away. We went to Gunter and then I was playing, you know, sorting out on putting all my other videos together and publishing them and stuff like that. And yeah, I just, actually probably in all honesty, I probably didn't have a whole lot of interesting stuff to tell you at that point. So I sort of didn't do a live for a little while. Probably been a month, I suppose, since I did the last one, maybe. So I might pick it up a bit more regularly from now on. And I'm thinking I'm going down to the Mekong again in the middle of next month. So I may do some more live videos down there so you guys get to see something a bit more interesting than, you know, a concrete floor. Although it doesn't look too bad, does it? It's not too bad. But as you can see, some clouds sort of coming in over there. That direction there is pretty much west is sort of over there. So how's it go? Northeast, south, north, northeast, south. Yeah, so the Mekong's in that direction. I don't know if you can't see the sky. I might be able to move it a bit for you. I don't know if that helps. But that direction is the south, the Mekong. A lot of our rain will come from that direction this time of year. But yeah, I'm going down there again, but I'm not going to Gunter this time. Gunter is kind of the central part of the delta. I'm going to go sort of more on the eastern side. I'm Javin, Sopjang, and Liu, and I may try to get down to Gamao, which is the southernmost point of Vietnam. There's a marker there. I've never been to the northernmost point, but and I've never been to the southern point at the moment either, but I plan to change that middle of next month. And I'm going to get on motorbike. I was planning, I had a harebrained idea that I was going to walk, and after our trip to Gunter, I tell you, there are a lot of stretches on that trip that were just long, dull and boring. I'll be honest with you, you know, there were stretches of 20, 30 kilometres, maybe 40 kilometres where it was all just sort of industrial and just roadside businesses and traffic and stuff like that. And I said to Mel, I think at the time, I said, you know, I plan to go more off the beaten path when I go on my trip to Gamao, but getting stuck for a day walking through, I reckon I could probably only do, I don't know, 30 kilometres on foot per day. I don't know. I've never done it. I've never walked such distances before. But I just thought to myself, imagine getting stuck for a full day walking along the side of the road down there in some industrial area. It would be a nightmare. It'd probably break me, actually. So I've got my motorbike license now, of course, and I've got the motorbike. I think it's wiser for me to take the bike down there, and I'll get to Javin in a day. You know, I can get out of sight pretty quickly. I know Benchair pretty well, that sort of area, and then I'll be able to go off down into Javin, and I think I can get there in a day pretty comfortably and do some filming, do some eating and stuff like that. Really kick off that little trip, you know. It'll also save accommodation as well, you know, if I go by motorbike, obviously, because I'll be able to knock off a lot quicker. So the plan is sort of cut across down into Javin, which is well known for Khmer culture. It's really, I think, one of the major sort of centers of Khmer culture. So there are a lot of temples there. Not that I'm a huge temple goer by any stretch, but it'd be really interesting. Sopjang is the same. Down to Bac Lieu. It's right on the coast there. And then down to Gamao. And then I think what I'll do is I might just cut across to Rac Ya. Rac Ya is a real southern town where you can also get ferries to Phu, but I don't think I'll do that. I don't really want to do that. So I'll probably go across to Rac Ya, then up to Long Twin, and then back probably through, I think it's Vinh Long. So sort of go around Gunter. I don't think I'll go back to Gunter this time, but and do a bit of a loop like that. So I should be able to get that off fairly quickly, and looking forward to it. So that'll be from the 12th of October, I think. 12th or 13th, somewhere around there. The Monday, maybe. The Monday, I think that might be the 13th or something like that. And I'll spend the week down there. So let me know. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to know about those towns or that particular trip. You know, maybe on your next visit you might want to go down there and check those places out. They're off the real tourist trail, at least the international tourist trail. So I should be able to do some videos that are interesting for you guys and might give you some ideas for what to do next time, instead of just going to Benchair or Gunter, even though they're really nice places. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be good. Hopefully it doesn't rain too much while I'm down there. I hope I don't get too wet. Sorry, just scrolling through here. Okay, Vuvu's going to have lunch. TJ, your random walks in Ho Chi Minh City are excellent for getting away from tourist places. Okay, thanks TJ. Yeah, I need to do a few more of those. Sometimes I suffer from this, you know, they say this analysis paralysis. You know, I overthink these things, you know, it's like, oh, will the guys who follow me like these videos? You know, is it too boring? Is it the same thing? You know, but I really should get out of that mindset and probably do my videos thinking about how I like watching my videos. And you know what, I'll sit there, I watch YouTube on my big TV in the living room, mostly. Sometimes I'll watch on the phone. But you know, I'll watch videos that are 30 minutes long. An hour is probably a stretch. But 30 minutes long of just someone walking through a market or just someone walking around somewhere or someone on a motorbike or whatever. And it doesn't bother me. I really actually like watching that stuff. So I really need to get it out of my head that, you know, the stuff that I'm filming is not that interesting. I've filmed it, blah, 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 you know, and just sort of get over that. So yeah, I'll do a little bit more. I'll do a few more of those walk-arounds in those neighbourhoods. I think the little scouting session that I had the other day has given me some ideas to get out of the southern Ho Chi Minh City more and go and check out the northern side. It is just rammed with food humanity. Yeah, Go Vap is, it's out of this world. People everywhere, places to eat everywhere. It's absolutely crazy. Okay. Rob. If they sell too much variety, they will be master of none usually. Not too sure what topic that's about. Sorry, I'm getting to this chat a little bit late, but just let me know, Rob, what you mean. But I think I know what you mean. But I don't know. I know what you mean, but I don't know what it was in reference to. Like, I know that you mean, you know, sort of jack of all trades, master of none. Like, I know what you're getting at, but let me know what in reference to. Oh, you were asking food place tips. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I get nervous too. When I walk into a place and I see a menu that's like, you know, this big, and I look around the place and there's like only a couple of staff and it's a dingy looking place, I get nervous or I leave. It's just like, nah, there's too much there. And I think that's also the beauty of Vietnamese street food as well, that a lot of the times these places will specialise just in sort of thing or a variation of this one particular dish. And so you can be pretty certain that they do it well, you know. Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, just stick to places, small menus, and they do it well, and they've been doing it for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years or whatever. There's the matriarch of the family. She's been the grandma, she's there. There's 3 generations of ladies sitting there cooking or whatever. You're pretty right. You're pretty right, aren't you? With those conditions. Dimitar, g'day mate, good to see you in the chat. Bakeries or any other place without listed prices I refuse to engage on principle. Okay, fair enough, yeah. Correct, places that offer only 1 or 2 options are usually the best. Yeah, I agree. TJ, looking out for the locals where they're eating. Correct. Quiet places does not indicate bad food. I had a sensational seafood meal with excellent service in Da Nang, and they were quiet. Yeah. Yeah, it really depends on the time of day too, doesn't it? Like I mentioned before. So, and you can also, sometimes you just have this vibe. You can see the produce, you know, like in the video that I did in Gunter where Mal and I went and had bun mum. And the place itself was kind of regular, big shed, and it was open and airy, which I kind of like, but there was nothing that great about it. It was also in a random kind of area on a very busy street in terms of traffic. So it wasn't really a food, you know, a so-called foodie area. But when we pulled up, got off the motorbike, and you know, the trolleys that they have with the glass box, all of the food in there was neatly chopped up, stacked up, and it looked fresh and clean, straight off they had the big pot boiling with their soup. It was overly busy, but there were a few people eating there, coming and going and stuff like that. And it was actually one of the few recommendations that the kids at the hotel gave us that was spot on. It was excellent. The video's there. If you're going to Gunter, you can find the address. But the vibe of the place was, these guys take care of what they do. They're into what they do. Everything's fresh, and it worked out excellent. It was beautiful. But not everybody's into bun mum. TJ, best pho I had in Ho Chi Minh City was in a cafe with 3 generations of one family running the place. All right, cool. Let me know. Drop the address in your comments and we'll go and check it out. But yeah, that's always a good sign, isn't it? Those places. And they have a little bit of history, bit of a story to tell, and they've got their soup. That soup has probably been bubbling away for 3 generations. They probably haven't turned the gas off it, or at least, you know, only when they have to change the gas bottles. That soup might have been in there for decades. Who knows? I don't know. Oh, look at we might get a bit of rain. I don't know if you can see okay, but looks like we might get a little bit of rain soon. It's coming this way. But yeah, I think that's what happens in Japan, in some noodle places, that the soup or the broth that they make, it's generations old. It's decades old or something like that, you know. They haven't changed it. All they do is keep adding to it, you know. And I assume that a lot of that happens in Vietnam as well. There's some really good questions and comments in the chat, so thanks heaps for that, guys. It's really good. Is it a UN heritage site? Do you mean Javin and Sopchang? Do you mean that, Mel? I'm not actually sure if there are heritage sites down there. There may be. I know in Sopchang there's a really large reclining Buddha. So I'm going to go and check that out, but I think that's rather new. I don't think it's a heritage listed place. In Bac Lieu, I'm going to go and check out the mansion. There's another mansion there. So for anyone who hasn't seen any of our Gunter videos, in the first one, stop off in Mito, and Mel found it. Mel's got a nose for this sort of stuff. We were driving along looking for somewhere to take a rest and maybe have a coffee, and we had some food to eat, and she spotted this place, and it's an old French colonial era mansion, and it turns out it's part of the whole sort of Mekong dandy phenomenon that happened back in the days of the French colonial era, and there was this young gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he was known as the Buccleuch Dandy. And apparently there was one, I don't know if he was the same guy or not, but there was one in Mito, and they were super wealthy. The Buccleuch Dandy, he apparently was the first person in Vietnam to ever own an aeroplane. So that's how rich he was in the day, you know, 100 years ago. And he was a playboy. Blew all of the family's riches on women, gambling, drinking, womanizing, flying his aeroplane or whatever. And allegedly he died destitute, but his home is still in Buccleuch. That'll be really cool. I'm interested in that sort of stuff if you haven't. I'm not too sure if other people are that interested in it, those types of videos. I don't care. You know, I love motorbikes, history and Vietnam and food, and you know, I'm just going to continue making that sort of stuff because I'm really interested in it. And I think the people who are interested in that find it interesting and enjoy those videos. So I'm going to keep up with some of those videos. You can just check the chat. Jeff, nothing really different to other trips. Okay, but I did enjoy finding small vendors selling banh mi opla for breakfast. Oh yes, it's my favourite too, yes, and I think they do a better job than the big famous places. 100% agree. I love banh mi opla. Love it. I've loved it from day one. You know, I mean, it's not that much of a departure from, you know, eggs on toast, is it? But when you get one that's in a crispy baguette, crispy banh mi, couple of fried eggs that are still soft a little bit in the centre. Sometimes you get a little bit of pate in them and whatever else, you know, the, what do you call it? Rau dua. Someone help me. The pickled vegetables, you know. You get those in there with a bit of soy sauce and maybe a bit of whatever other sauce, bit of fish sauce or something, nuoc mam or something like that. Sensational. Love the opla. Yeah. Love that. So I'm glad you like that, Jeff. That's good. Yes, similar tastes in that regard. Whoa. Sorry about that. My camera just dropped. Rob, you were asking food place tips. Yeah, sorry Rob, I think I've moved on a little bit since that. You'll have to remind me, but yeah, please leave them, guys, in the down below the description, in the comments. Perhaps after the video stops, or you can do it if you're on a laptop or something like that. Leave plenty of places, and I'll go and leave your favourite places, and I'll go and check them out. Yes, and you know I love the alley walks. Never stop or think we weren't enjoying them. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thanks heaps for the support as usual. All right, I'll pick those up again. Actually, we're coming into the best season for those types of walks. So end of November, December, January are the best times. I'll be able to walk around and I won't sweat, which will be a really nice change, you know. And the mornings will be a little bit brisker. So yeah, I'll get into more of those once the rains clear up a little bit. I'm glad you guys like them. And you're very kind. You're very kind for saying that and pumping me up. Sylvian, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Who are some YouTubers creating Vietnamese content you enjoy watching? That's a good question. Who do I like? Not saying that I don't like anyone, because as you know, I have great respect for anyone who's willing to turn on a camera and walk around the streets and make content about Vietnam. It's quite challenging at times. You know, there's actually a Vietnamese one that I watch, mostly because, as you all know, I'm trying to improve my Vietnamese, which is, I mean, it's well documented that it's a difficult language. There's a young guy, his name is Toro Pan, Toropan, Toro Pan. And I actually use his channel more for checking out places where to go in Vietnam, but also to try and pick up some natural Vietnamese, because I can just put the, what do you call it? The CC, the closed captions on and follow that. In terms of foreigners, I think that guy, Halon, he's quite good. He's based up in Hanoi, so he's doing some interesting stuff, and he's an older guy too. I think he might be a little bit older than me, and he obviously knows Vietnam very well, and he just doesn't want to do the run-of-the-mill sort of videos and stuff that travellers produce when they blow in and blow out. And you know, I think he's done one recently on plastic stools. Why do Vietnamese people have plastic stools or something like that? So he likes his sort of Vietnamese history. I've met the young lady who does What the Fur, and she's lovely. I mean, she's sweet as pie. I can understand why she's super popular. She's got something like 200 or 300,000 subscribers, and she's lovely. I met her at an event, I don't know, 6 months or so ago, and introduced myself and stuff like that. And she's as lovely as she is on camera, you know. Let me have a think of some other ones. I think people like Phúc Map, you know, he does an amazing job as an ambassador for Vietnam. He's also good for me too in terms of just giving me hope that I can speak Vietnamese in some way a little bit fluently at some point as well. So there's a young David Thai, I think his name is. He's a young guy from Australia, young Vietnamese Australian guy who's based here now. He does a really good job as well, and he's sort of someone who's also rediscovering his roots. So it's quite interesting as well. And he did a really good one on banh mi recently, which was good, which he made me actually start looking up these places because it looks so good and tasty. So yeah, his videos have come along really well lately. I think that's about it. I watch a lot of stuff that comes up on my feed from tourists to sort of see what sort of stuff they're producing. And I've got to say, it's most of the time it's all the same stuff. You know, go to the post office, go and check out Notre Dame Cathedral, look at the traffic, isn't it amazing? I might have to wrap this up in a second. I might get zapped by lightning if I hang around any longer. Have a look at this. But yeah, there's a list, there's a number of people that I follow. Yeah, I think that's got a little bit of lightning in it, I think. And I don't really want to get zapped. So I might have to wrap this up. Sorry for those who I haven't called out. But that's a good question, Sylvia. If I think of any more, I'll let you know. I'm sure you have some. And hi, now you're in Ho Chi Minh City. Yes. Hey, Guy, do you see comment? Yes, I do. Thank you, M. Or An. M? An M. M An. TJ, Pho Tan Bin. Wintim. Okay, I'll check it out. Wintim in Kai, I know that one. Okay. Second, David Kai. Yeah, that's him, David Kai. He's good. And it's good to It's good to listen to the Aussie accent, I reckon. All right, guys, thanks heaps for joining. I really appreciate it. I better run because I've got a thing about lightning and I'm standing on a roof. So I better hit the road. Thanks heaps. Oh yeah, Bisco. Yes, I watch Bisco. I follow him on Patreon. I'm a member of him as well, of his. Yeah, I like his stuff. Yeah. All right, guys, thanks a lot. And thanks heaps for your chat and your conversation and your questions and stuff and tips and all that sort of stuff. I'll see you soon, probably next week in a live session. So cheers. Thanks heaps for the support. Have a good one. I'm going to run.